Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody. I'm here with the fifth layout from my Studio Calico April kits, and I'm starting with this pinkish, peachy polka dot paper. I'm just cutting off the branding strip, but I really like this paper, and I really wanted to use it not necessarily in a girly layout, but kind of in a this is going to sound weird, kind of in like an emotional style layout where I'm talking about, my emotions like love and things like that. Now, I hope that's probably going to sound really weird and it's probably not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people. But this layout is all about my little boy and how he's my little boy and he's so special to me. And he goes by a lot of different names, but I call him Sweet Pea most of the time. So the title of this one's going to be Mama's Little Sweet Pea. And I'm going to use up a good portion of the little random circular elements and labels. And it's just kind of I let this layout totally flow. I didn't think much about it. I was just throwing embellishments on here. Whatever looked kind of pleasing to my eye is what I went with. And then I'm going to use these labels to do kind of a little bit of journaling in a sense. I'm going to put different names that he goes by or different names that we've called him over the years. And so that's what I mean by kind of an emotional layout, because it's kind of a very special, just kind of simple layout where I'm putting a little bit of a little bit of documenting that really is probably a little bit more special than some of my normal stories are. And I'm just using the different embellishments to kind of create a little bit of interest. I thought about moving or turning some of these number tags to the side because the numbers are not relevant to the story here. It's just a different way to embellish the page. But I quickly decided that I don't like the way that looks to the side because I feel like it's too in line with the label. I wanted it to be a little bit more of a contrast to the label, which is why I decided to keep one horizontal and one vertical. Now I have this 3x4 journaling card that I had already cut apart. It had some gray lines on it, and then it had the lightning bolts around it. I'm going to cut those lightning bolts off, but I am going to use the gray lines for my journaling. Just going through the different embellishments, I kind of like the circle and the rectangular theme that I was going for here. So I'm just going to continue with that. I am going to pull a few little bits of strips that you'll see at the very top and then kind of the bottom. And I feel like that gives a little bit of a barrier. It stops the embellishments at the top, and then it also kind of stops them at the bottom, and it just kind of gives it a top and a bottom. It just looked right to my eye. I totally went with how I felt this looked when I was completing it. Sometimes it's better to not think about it and just go with what you think looks good. And this was that kind of layout. Because the polka dot is just a consistent pattern across the page, at the very beginning I decided to go ahead and use my Sharpie pen and make some border lines around the edges. It just seems to kind of contain everything together, and to me sometimes you need that to be a finished layout. It's funny that I knew that from the very beginning before I had even added anything to the page itself. It seemed like it was going to need that, so that's what I went with. Now what I'm doing, every time I take one of these little labels off, I'm cutting out the notches. They were cut into rectangles, but they are actually like little labels with curved edges. So that's what I'm kind of cutting out each time I take it off the page. This type of layout is great when you have a lot of little embellishments left that you just want to kind of use up. Because there's not necessarily a rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of a random pattern. And I chose these particular numbers because they blended in with the background a little bit. They were not too harsh. They didn't stand out too much. I didn't want them to stand out very, very much. So I'm using the stamp set from the kit, and I'm stamping it off. I'm using the Smoky Shadow ink from Paper Tray Ink, and I'm first of all stamping it off to take away some of the darkness of the ink, and then I'm stamping it on the page, so it's what you would call second generation stamping, so it makes it more of a softer gray. You can definitely see it in person. It's really hard to see on the screen at the moment because the polka dot is a little bit bolder. I have a very tiny strip of my glassine bag left from one of my prior layouts, so I'm just going to add that to the bottom. It looks like a little piece of vellum is what it looks like, but it's actually a piece of that glassine bag. And then I'm also going to add some little, the little scrap piece that I have from the vellum painted quote strip thing. It's going to bring just a little bit more of that brighter reddish pink color to the background. Now in my kits, in both the Documenter and the scrapbook kit, I got these Life Love paper enamel stickers, and I like the fact they were exactly the same except for the designs and colors were different now. They were the same style and the same kind of basic patterns in colors, but the variation, like the large ones on one set were not the same colors as the large ones on the other, and I really like that because it really gives you a lot of variety to use. Now I pulled out these alpha stickers, and they're actually from Chickanity Crafts, and it's from their Jolly Good collection. So it's actually a Christmas collection, and it looks really bright against the background on the video, but really in person it's a little bit more of a lime green versus a neon green, so it really is easy to read in person. And then I'm going to stamp using these Studio 29 Walden print stamps, which are amazing, by the way. But I'm going to use those to stamp Mama's Little Sweet Pea. And I'm not stamping off on this because the stamp font is so narrow, it's not real bold, and so there's no point in stamping off. And I'm just typing or writing out Mama's Little Sweet Pea. And then I'll tell you what are in all the little labels, which if you would like to see the still photos, those are always going to be at the end of my layout or at the end of my process videos, but also on my blog. So if you would like to see any of the close-up shots, feel free to go check out the blog. Also, if you are following my kit review series, what I've been doing each month this year is picking a different kit to purchase and review. And this month just happens to be Studio Calico, but I have purchased and reviewed different kits already through through January, February, and March, and then I'll continue throughout the year. I don't know at what point I plan to stop, but I'm having fun so far, so we're going to continue going. But this one just happens to be my Studio Calico kit for April. And my point in saying all that was that on my blog, I have a spreadsheet where I kind of compare the layouts, not the layouts, compare the kits, tell you what I get out of each of the kits, and kind of give you a little bit information about my my review of the kit, you know, the pricing, the details of when the reveal videos are, and all of that. So this is my journaling, and it just says, this is one sweet little boy. He loves hard, plays hard, and is so stinking stubborn, but he also loves just as hard. My sweet boy. And then I'm putting this down, and then at the bottom, of course, the title is Mama's Little Sweet Pea. And then I'm going to put on the little labels, I'm going to go back and put the names that we call him. So he's gone by a lot of different names over the years, but these are kind of the ones that stood out to me. So then the labels are going to say my boy, Buddy, baby boy, Boo Boo, and Buggy, because those are the names that we've called him. And then, of course, Sweet Pea has stuck around for a while. It was funny when I was filling out his kindergarten registration paperwork about a month ago. It was about a month ago. I told him to sit and help me because I wanted him to just see if he knew any of the answers, like name and address, date of birth, you know, mom's name, dad's name, all of that. And I asked him what his name was, first, middle, and last name. And then there was this section, of course, for goes by, like other names that he may go by. So I said, well, what other names do you go by? And he thought about it for a minute, and he goes, well, Sweet Pea. Like, what? He goes, some people call me Sweet Pea. So I call him Sweet Pea. My mom calls him Sweet Pea, and one of his teachers calls him Sweet Pea. So that was his AKA, Kaylin, AKA Sweet Pea. I just thought that was so funny because he was just being completely honest. That's exactly what people call him. There's a couple people that call him Sweet Pea. So I thought that was really sweet. I should probably document that somewhere too. But anyways, this is where I'm going to add those little bits and pieces of the vellum painter piece of strip thing, and I am gonna just cut it off the end here off of this other one, so it has that painted end look to it, where it's not just squared, but it's got kind of the painted end. So, and that's just gonna add a little bit to the very bottom of my photo. And this is where I'm trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to put on each of these? I was trying to come up with 5 because there are 5 labels. There's a ton of other names that we call him, all endearing comments, of course, but I just was trying to see how it looked, and I didn't want to put them all on there and have it look weird. So I put it on some scrap paper just to test it, and I end up really liking it, so I'm going to go with it. But thank you so much for joining me. This finishes up this layout. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this, and also subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I do a lot of videos. Sometimes I can post as much as 5 times a week, and sometimes as little as 2 or 3. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me, and have a great afternoon. Bye.